You slept for 8 hours. You did everything right. You went to bed at a decent time, you didn't stare at your phone until 2 in the morning, you woke up without an alarm, and you feel terrible. Your lower back is stiff, your neck is tight, your hips feel like they belong to someone twice your age, and the first 15 minutes of your morning are spent hobbling around like the night somehow damaged you instead of restoring you. If that sounds familiar, and for most people watching this it will, then this video is going to be one of the most useful things you watch this year. Because waking up stiff and sore is not something you have to accept. It is a biological problem with specific biological causes and very specific fixes. Sleep is the most important recovery tool available to the human body. We covered the performance and muscle-building dimensions of sleep in earlier videos in this series: the growth hormone release, the testosterone maintenance, the neural consolidation that makes the skills you trained that day permanent. But sleep also does things to your body that have nothing to do with recovery, things that are normal, unavoidable, and directly responsible for the stiffness and soreness you feel when the alarm goes off. The key to understanding morning stiffness is accepting one counterintuitive truth. The human body was not designed for the kind of sleep we now have. For most of human history, people did not lie motionless for 8 consecutive hours on a flat, elevated surface. Sleep was interrupted, often on the ground, frequently in changing positions. The prolonged, static immobility of modern sleep, the same position for hours at a time, creates specific biological conditions that your body never fully adapted to. Understanding those conditions is the first step to reversing them. There are 3 distinct biological mechanisms behind morning stiffness and soreness. Each one operates independently. Each one has a specific fix, and all 3 are happening to your body every single night, whether you exercise or not, whether you are 25 or 65, whether you slept on the best mattress money can buy or on a hotel room floor. Let's go through them one by one. 1. Your spinal discs are compressed and dehydrated. Between every vertebra in your spine, from the base of your skull to the bottom of your lumbar spine, sits an intervertebral disc. These discs are remarkable structures. They function as shock absorbers, as spacers that maintain the gaps between vertebrae so nerves can pass through safely, and as the flexible joints that allow your spine to bend, twist, and extend in every direction. Each disc has 2 distinct layers. The outer layer, called the annulus fibrosus, is a tough, multi-layered ring of fibrocartilage. The inner layer, called the nucleus pulposus, is a gel-like core that is roughly 80% water. This gel is what gives the disc its shock-absorbing capacity, and it is the behavior of this water content over the course of a day and night that is directly responsible for a significant portion of your morning stiffness. During the day, when you are upright and bearing load through your spine, the compressive forces of gravity and activity slowly push fluid out of the nucleus pulposus and into the surrounding tissue. By the end of a full day of activity, your spinal discs have lost a measurable amount of their hydration. Some researchers estimate between 15 and 25% of their fluid volume. This is why you are measurably shorter at the end of the day than you were in the morning, a very well-documented phenomenon that typically amounts to 1 to 2 centimeters of height difference. During sleep, the compressive load on the spine is removed. The discs rehydrate through a process called imbibition. They draw fluid back in from the surrounding tissue. By morning, they are fully rehydrated and at their maximum volume. This sounds like a good thing. And in terms of disc health, it is. But fully rehydrated discs that have not yet been gradually loaded are also stiffer and less flexible than discs that have been moving for an hour. The structures surrounding them, the spinal ligaments, the facet joints, the muscles of the paraspinal region, have been in a static, unloaded position for 8 hours and have not yet been warmed through the circulation that movement produces. The result is the familiar morning back stiffness that makes bending forward in the first few minutes of the day feel dramatically more difficult than it will be in an hour.
There is an additional layer to this mechanism that is particularly relevant for anyone who trains. Research from spinal loading studies suggests that the risk of disc injury is highest in the first hour after waking, when the fully rehydrated disc is at maximum internal pressure and the surrounding tissues have not yet been adequately warmed. This is the scientific basis for the commonly given advice to avoid very heavy spinal loading, like heavy barbell deadlifts or squats, immediately upon waking. Not because the spine is damaged in the morning, but because the biological conditions of that specific window create a higher than usual risk of disc stress under load. The fix: movement first, load second. The fix for morning disc stiffness is progressive spinal loading, not jumping straight into intense activity. The first thing you do when you wake up should not be a heavy training session. It should be gentle, progressive movement that gradually introduces load to the spine and stimulates the circulation that warms the surrounding tissue. We will cover the specific morning movement protocol at the end of this video, but the principle is move first, train later. Hydration on waking. Your discs rehydrate from the fluid surrounding them, and that fluid comes from your systemic hydration. After 8 hours of sleep without drinking, you wake up in a mild state of dehydration. Drinking 400 to 600 milliliters of water within 30 minutes of waking directly supports disc rehydration and reduces the mechanical stiffness associated with compressed disc tissue. This single habit, a large glass of water before coffee, before your phone, before anything else, costs nothing and directly addresses the primary structural mechanism of morning back stiffness. Sleep position matters. Certain sleep positions create asymmetrical spinal loading that concentrates disc compression in specific regions. Sleeping on your stomach is the worst position for spinal disc health. It forces the cervical spine into sustained extension and rotation and compresses the lumbar discs in an asymmetrical pattern that contributes significantly to neck and lower back stiffness. Side sleeping with a pillow between the knees or back sleeping with a pillow under the knees are the positions that best distribute spinal load evenly overnight and reduce the morning stiffness caused by positional disc compression. 2. Your fascia has thickened and cooled overnight. Fascia is the most widespread and least understood tissue in the human body. It is a continuous three-dimensional web of connective tissue that surrounds and permeates every muscle, bone, nerve, blood vessel, and organ in your body. It is what holds everything in place relative to everything else. It transmits force between muscles. It provides the structural integrity that allows your body to move as an integrated unit rather than a collection of disconnected parts. And for the purposes of understanding morning stiffness, the most important property of fascia is this: it behaves like a thixotropic substance. Thixotropic means it changes its viscosity, its thickness and resistance to movement in response to two things: temperature and mechanical stress. When fascia is warm and has been moving, it is more fluid, more elastic, and more capable of the full range of motion your joints are designed to feel. When fascia is cool and has been still, as it is after 8 hours of motionless sleep, it thickens toward a semi-gel state and resists movement with significantly greater force. Think of it like cold honey versus warm honey. Cold honey barely moves. Warm honey flows freely. Your fascial tissue at 6 in the morning is closer to the cold honey end of that spectrum, which is why that first reach across the bed, that first attempt to stand up and walk to the bathroom, feels restricted and stiff in a way that is not about muscle tightness at all. It is about a connective tissue system that has cooled and gelled and needs heat and movement to return to its functional state. The fascial system also responds to habitual postures over time. If you sleep in the same position every night, particularly a curled fetal position on your side or on your back with hips in sustained flexion, the fascia begins to adaptively shorten in those positions. It lays down new collagen fibers along the lines of the habitual posture, gradually reducing mobility in the directions opposite to that posture. This is fascial densification, and it is the long-term structural reason why people who have slept in the same position for decades progressively lose the ability to stand fully upright first thing in the morning without a significant warm-up period. A third dimension of the fascial system's role in morning stiffness is its relationship to the nervous system. Fascia is densely innervated. It contains more sensory nerve endings per cubic centimeter than almost any other tissue in the body. When thickened, restricted fascia is placed under sudden load, as happens when you leap out of bed and immediately start moving fast, those sensory receptors send pain signals to the brain as a protective response. The brain interprets this as injury threat and restricts movement to prevent further loading of the tissue. This is the neurological component of morning soreness, your nervous system protecting thickened fascia from a movement demand it is not yet ready for.
The fix. Warm before you load. The primary fix for fascial stiffness is temperature. A warm shower immediately upon waking is one of the most effective interventions for morning fascial stiffness available. Not because the water is doing anything mystical, but because the direct application of heat to the fascial tissue shifts it along the fixotropic spectrum from gel toward fluid. 3 to 5 minutes of warm water on the back, neck, and hips will measurably improve your range of motion within minutes. If a morning shower is not practical, 5 minutes of light movement, walking, gentle joint rotations, anything that raises core temperature produces the same result through endogenous heat generation. Daily movement variety. Long-term fascial health requires moving in multiple planes and through full ranges of motion consistently. Bodies that spend most of the day in one position, seated at a desk, standing at a counter, lying on a couch, develop fascial restrictions in the directions they never move. The fix is not complicated. Move more ways. Rotate your spine, reach overhead, hinge, lateral step. The morning routine we will cover at the end of this video is specifically designed to run the fascial system through the full range of positions it needs to move freely. Hydration again. Fascia is approximately 70% water. Chronically dehydrated fascia loses its elastic, gel-like properties and becomes more leathery, more adhesive, and more resistant to movement. The same morning hydration habit that supports disc rehydration also directly improves fascial elasticity. 2 birds, 1 large glass of water. 3. Your inflammatory chemistry peaks in the early morning. This is the least understood of the 3 mechanisms and the one that explains something almost everyone has noticed but never found a satisfying explanation for: why training soreness, joint stiffness, and generalized achiness always feel worst in the first hour after waking and then gradually improve as the morning progresses. A human body operates on a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour biological clock that governs almost every physiological process in your body. Hormone production, body temperature, immune activity, tissue repair, and inflammatory signaling all follow predictable circadian patterns that evolved over millions of years. And one of those patterns directly produces the soreness and stiffness you feel when you first wake up. Cortisol, a hormone produced by the adrenal glands, follows a very specific circadian curve. It begins rising approximately 2 hours before your normal wake time, peaks within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, a phenomenon called the cortisol awakening response, and then gradually declines throughout the day. This peak in cortisol is a normal and necessary part of the waking cycle. It mobilizes energy, sharpens alertness, and prepares the body for the demands of the day. But cortisol is also a mediator of inflammatory signaling, and when it peaks in the morning, it interacts with the residual inflammatory chemistry from the previous day's training, stress, or immune activity in ways that amplify the sensation of soreness. Simultaneously, a class of signaling molecules called pro-inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, also follows circadian patterns that peak in the early morning hours. These molecules are part of the normal immune and repair process. They orchestrate the tissue repair that happens during sleep. But they also activate pain-sensing neurons, nociceptors, and lower the pain threshold in inflamed or recently stressed tissues. This is why delayed onset muscle soreness, the soreness that arrives 48 hours after a training session, is always worst upon waking 2 mornings after training, not during the training itself. The inflammatory peak of the circadian rhythm amplifies the pain signal from the tissue repair process in the early morning window.
There is also a joint-specific dimension to morning inflammation that is particularly relevant for anyone with arthritis, previous injuries, or chronically overworked joints. Synovial fluid, the lubricating fluid inside joint capsules, becomes more viscous during the prolonged stillness of sleep, and the inflammatory environment of the morning circadian peak further reduces its lubricating effectiveness. The first movements of the day require the joint to force this thickened fluid through a reduced lubrication environment, which is the direct mechanical cause of the creaking, grinding sensation many people experience in their knees, hips, and shoulders for the first few minutes after getting out of bed.
The fix: gradual movement to stimulate anti-inflammatory response. The most effective way to shift the inflammatory balance of the early morning is controlled, progressive movement. Light to moderate exercise triggers the release of anti-inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin-1 and interleukin-1 receptor antagonist, that counteract the pro-inflammatory peak of the morning circadian rhythm. This is not a dramatic pharmacological response. It is the body's own regulatory system, and it responds to movement within 15 to 20 minutes. The morning routine we will cover shortly is specifically designed to generate this anti-inflammatory response without aggravating tissues that are still in the peak inflammatory window. Sleep quality and consistency. The intensity of the morning inflammatory peak is directly related to sleep quality. Poor, fragmented, or chronically insufficient sleep dysregulates the circadian inflammatory rhythm, producing a more severe and longer-lasting morning inflammatory window. Studies consistently show that people sleeping fewer than 7 hours have measurably higher morning levels of inflammatory markers than those sleeping 7 to 9 hours. Fixing your morning soreness begins the night before. 7 to 9 hours of consistent, uninterrupted sleep is the most powerful anti-inflammatory protocol available. Omega-3 fatty acids and anti-inflammatory nutrition. The inflammatory chemistry of the morning peak operates on substrates derived from your diet. Diets high in omega-6 fatty acids, abundant in processed foods, seed oils, and ultra-processed snacks, provide the raw material for pro-inflammatory prostaglandins. Diets high in omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish, walnuts, flaxseed, and fish oil supplements, shift the balance toward anti-inflammatory eicosanoids that reduce the severity of the morning inflammatory peak. This is not a fringe claim. It is well-supported biochemistry that directly affects how sore and stiff your body feels every morning. Now let me give you the complete morning routine that addresses all three mechanisms simultaneously. This is a 10-minute protocol. It costs no money, it requires no equipment, and it is built specifically around the biology we just covered. Not around generic stretching advice, but around the specific physiological conditions of the early morning. The 10-minute morning stiffness protocol. Step 1. Water first, 2 minutes before you do anything else. Before your feet hit the floor, reach for a glass of water you placed on the nightstand the night before. Drink 400 to 600 milliliters, roughly 2 full glasses. This initiates disc rehydration, begins hydrating the fascial tissue, and starts the circulatory processes that will warm everything that needs warming. Do this before coffee, before your phone, before anything. Step 2. Supine spinal rocking, 90 seconds. Still in bed or on the floor on your back, draw both knees to your chest and hold them with both hands. Gently rock side to side, left, center, right, in a slow, rhythmic motion. 10 rocks in each direction. This gentle mobilization of the lumbar spine under low load begins distributing synovial fluid through the facet joints, stimulates circulation in the paraspinal muscles, and provides a gentle mechanical stimulus to the rehydrated discs that prepares them for upright loading without stressing them. Step 3. Cat-cow, 90 seconds. Come to hands and knees on the floor. Cat. Exhale and round the entire spine upward, tucking the pelvis, dropping the head, creating a C-curve through the whole spine. Cow. Inhale and extend the spine in the opposite direction,
Pelvis tilts forward, chest opens, head lifts gently. Move slowly and deliberately between the two positions, synchronizing the movement with your breath. 10 full cycles. This is one of the most effective early morning spinal mobilization movements in existence. It progressively loads the spinal extensors and flexors through their full range, warms the fascial tissues surrounding the thoracic and lumbar spine, and directly addresses the fascial thickening of overnight immobility. Step 4. Hip flexor and glute activation, 2 minutes. From standing, step into a low lunge, one knee on the floor, one foot forward at 90 degrees. Tuck the pelvis slightly under and hold for 30 seconds, feeling the hip flexors of the rear leg lengthen. This directly addresses the psoas tightness we covered in our other video. Then move into a standing glute activation. Stand on one leg, squeeze the standing glute hard, and hold for 5 seconds per side. 10 repetitions per leg. Activating the glutes early in the morning counteracts the gluteal inhibition that accumulates from overnight hip flexion and sets up better mechanical mechanics for everything you do that day.
Step 5. Thoracic rotation, 90 seconds. Sit on the floor with legs crossed or extended. Place your right hand on your left knee and your left hand on the floor behind you. Exhale and rotate your torso to the left as far as comfortable, looking over your left shoulder. Hold 3 breaths. Return to center and repeat on the other side. 5 rotations per side. The thoracic spine, the upper and mid-back, is one of the most commonly restricted regions of the body in people who sit for work, and it is one of the primary contributors to neck and shoulder morning stiffness. This rotation mobilizes the thoracic facet joints through the plane of motion they are most restricted in. Step 6. Full body wake up, 2 minutes. End the protocol with 2 minutes of light, continuous whole body movement. This can be gentle jumping jacks, light arm swings combined with leg swings, or simply walking briskly in place. The goal is to raise your core temperature by half a degree, enough to shift the fascial tissue from its cool, gelled morning state toward its warm, fluid, functional state. This is the step that transitions your body from the early morning inflammatory peak toward the anti-inflammatory response that movement triggers. 2 minutes. Enough to feel warm, not enough to train. After this, your body is ready for the day. 10 minutes, 6 steps. Every biological mechanism of morning stiffness addressed. Do this protocol for 7 consecutive mornings and notice the difference in how you feel by day 8. It is not gradual. The improvement in morning mobility is one of the most quickly felt adaptations in all of movement practice. The morning protocol addresses the immediate problem every day. But if you want to reduce morning stiffness and soreness at the root level, to feel genuinely less stiff and sore upon waking over the coming months, the daily habits you carry into the night are the primary lever. How much you move during the day directly determines how stiff you feel the next morning. People who move regularly throughout the day, who stand, walk, change positions, and engage their full range of motion consistently, maintain fascial hydration and elasticity at a higher baseline level. Their fascia does not cool to the same degree overnight because it has been maintained at a higher functional temperature throughout the day. The single most impactful daily habit change for long-term morning stiffness reduction is simply moving more during the hours between waking and sleeping. What you eat in the evening influences the inflammatory environment you wake up in. Late, heavy meals, particularly those high in refined carbohydrates and seed oils, increase circulating pro-inflammatory markers that are still active in the early morning window. Meals that are anti-inflammatory in composition, rich in omega-3s, polyphenols from colorful vegetables and fruit, and adequate protein, shift the overnight inflammatory balance toward resolution rather than inflammation. What you eat for dinner is not just tomorrow's fuel, it is tomorrow's morning's comfort. Training recovery deserves honest attention here as well. If you're consistently waking up sore and stiff the morning after training, the training load may be exceeding your current recovery capacity. This is not a reason to train less, it is a reason to eat more protein, sleep more consistently, manage stress more deliberately, and ensure your training program includes adequate deload weeks. Soreness that is the same or worse after every session and never completely resolves between sessions is the body's signal that the recovery equation is out of balance. 3 reasons, 3 fixes. 1 10-minute morning protocol. Your spinal discs are compressed and dehydrated from overnight immobility. Fixed by morning water, gradual spinal mobilization, and a sleep position that distributes load evenly. Your fascia has thickened and gelled in the cool stillness of the night. Fixed by heat, movement, hydration, and daily mobility practice that maintains fascial elasticity at a higher baseline level. Your inflammatory chemistry peaks in the early morning circadian window. Fixed by progressive morning movement, consistent sleep, and a diet that shifts the overnight inflammatory balance toward resolution. None of this requires money. None of it requires equipment. All of it requires 10 minutes, a glass of water, and the floor of whatever room you wake up in every morning. Waking up stiff and sore is not a tax on training hard. It is not an inevitable feature of getting older. It is a physiological problem with specific physiological solutions, and now you have all 3 of them. Subscribe to the Fit Pulse for more content that takes the body seriously and gives you the science behind every recommendation. Share this video with someone who has accepted morning stiffness as normal, because now they know it doesn't have to be. See you in the next one.